Welcome to the Change Your Thoughts, Change Your Life podcast. I'm your host, Nadia Dela Cruz, founder of the Wayne Dyer Wisdom Community. We're at the start of a brand new year, and I thought it would be fun to have a little chat about the energy of the new year, a spiritual perspective, if you will, on where we are personally and collectively. We're going through a lot right now, and I have my good friend joining me today, Patrick Corrigan.
Yay!
I'm sure you guys, if you're longtime listeners, you've heard Patrick come on before. He is a shaman and a healer and a fantastic card reader. So we actually both do card readings. So we will probably pull some cards for you a little bit later on in the episode and kind of see what we need to know right now, which is always very timely. But yeah, Patrick, how are you doing? How were the holidays for you?
They were good. I was able to go back to Minnesota and visit my family and visit some of my old haunts and
Get into trouble?
kind of. It was funny because in St. Paul there's Como Park Zoo that we used to go to when I was a kid all the time, and they have a conservatory arboretum thingy with the plants, and they do special plant shows. And my mom wanted to go to that, and we're like in the middle of it, and both me and my little sister were like, I gotta go see animals. I can't be this close to animals and not go see the animals. So we kind of ditched them and went to the zoo part. We didn't get we were on a time schedule, so we didn't get to see everything, but we got to see some stuff. These amazing, like 1 or 2 year old snow leopards were just jumping, and it was amazing because the one snow leopard, there was had some disease when she was born, and that made them have to remove her eyes, so she was totally blind. But she was jumping up on the rocks, jumping down on the rocks, jumping on the back of the other snow leopard.
Like she knew where everything was. That's amazing.
Yeah, it was just amazing. It was really, that was kind of one of the highlights of the trip. But
that's really neat. So what was the weather like? Because this is the beginning of winter. Was it snowy in Minnesota?
There was some snow at the beginning, so we did have technically a white Christmas. I got to walk through the snow. I always love that. Mm-hmm. But then it started to rain. I'm afraid I brought the rain with me from the Pacific Northwest, and it kind of washed away a lot of the snow. But
I know we have been waiting for snow, Patrick. It's been, I don't know if it's 2 or 3 years now, because I think the last 2 years we didn't get any snow here.
Yeah.
Obviously in the passes they get it. And so the last time we had snow, we had a really snowy weekend and then everything melted, but it was a magnificent weekend. My kids love it. Mm-hmm. And we had this like inflatable sled, and it popped that winter.
Oh no.
So I ordered a new sled, and it has been sitting in our garage for years. It's still brand new. I think the kids dragged each other around on the carpet a little bit, but it's not really the same as playing in the snow. So we're really hoping that this cold front that we're getting now, so much of the country is getting blanketed in snow. We just want a little bit, just a little bit. Yeah.
You always go up into the mountains and like go up on the pass or something, or go up.
I have definitely thought about it. Yeah, I had some friends who went up to the snow park up there where you can go inner tubing and stuff, mm-hmm. and it might be nice if the roads are clear. I guess I'd have to look into that. But
it was funny. Yeah. My sister wanted to go tubing, and like when you say tubing, like we used to go tubing when I was little, but it was tubing down the Apple River in Wisconsin.
Oh, that's different.
So like tubing, and we're like, "What? Are you crazy?"
You'll freeze to death in the
river. Yeah.
No, different kind.
Different tubing, yeah.
Yeah, but that's winters in Seattle. It's like you never know if you're going to get any snow. But actually it was really fun because when my son was little, we got snow on Christmas Day like 2 or 3 years in a row, which was so rare. And he was just old enough to understand. So the next year he's like, yeah, it's going to be Christmas and we're going to have snow. And I was like, actually, it doesn't usually happen that way. But Yes, we're still embracing the season. Our December went really fast, but we got
Yeah,
to do some fun. Well, because Thanksgiving was so close to Christmas this year too.
yeah,
It's
yeah,
like you blink and you'll miss it. So yeah, yeah.
yeah.
But we still have our Christmas tree up. Full disclosure.
I just took
Um,
mine down last week, so.
oh, you're such a quitter, Patrick.
Well,
You
I
gotta
had
hold
it up
out.
since like Halloween, so I was like,
Oh, well,
I
you start. Yeah.
I needed Christmas this year. And I'm like, I don't care. I need a little Christmas, so I put up my tree, and
So I call it my winter tree, and I think that's totally legitimate. I
that
mean,
is yes,
shouldn't we have lights up for the winter and not just for,
just
a couple weeks around Christmas? I think so.
absolutely. Well, that's why I start doing. I didn't used to do that. I used to wait till Thanksgiving, but the last couple of years, things have been so crazy. Like I want as much Christmas as I can get, so
Yeah.
I'll start doing decorations and the tree and listening to Christmas music right after Halloween.
Yeah, I'm not ready to let it go, but my birthday's at the end of the month, and we usually aim to keep up our Christmas stuff, at least inside the house, until around my birthday, and then all
Ah,
bets are off. But
that's cool.
but you never know. But if it was up to my husband, I think we would have Christmas decorations year round. It's funny because we'll be driving in the summer and we'll pass a house and he'll be like, "Look, they still have Christmas lights on their house." It's like, okay, but we don't have to. We can at least wait until later in the year. It doesn't
Yeah,
have to be
I
all.
used to have I used to put I had Christmas lights in my living room and stuff, and they've been up so long that they all burned out.
They do that after a while. Yeah.
So yeah,
Well, we have like twinkle lights in the kids' bedroom and stuff, but it's a little bit different. It's not really that different, but it's a little bit
it's a
different.
little different. Yeah, I got one of those um, projector thingies that projects like stars on the ceiling, like
Ooh,
galaxies
that's
and
fun.
stuff. So that
Yeah.
that's like a year round thing. That yeah, it's really
Well,
cool.
you got to bring the outdoors inside.
Hmm.
Just like you have with this beautiful forest tapestry behind you. I love it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
me too.
I
It's
love
like my
your campfire that you put on your laptop sometimes
I don't know if
when
you
you
can hear it. I've got it. You can't see my
oh, you
TV, but
have it now.
I've got the camper. I can hear it crackling in the background.
So I'll tell you, I was one of the first people to when they got this new technology of these fake fireplaces that has like, the space heater in the bottom, but it looks like a flame with the little window and everything. I remember when they first brought that out at Home Depot, and I was like, this is the coolest thing ever. I have to have this. And I don't know what I spent, but it was too much, whatever it was. I still have that thing, but I will tell you, so many people have teased me about that. They're like, why do you have that? I'm like, because it's like a fire. It's so
It's
cozy.
nice.
But then I've
Yeah.
had a lot of girls who came over, they're like, oh, I love that. So it's a love hate thing. You either love it or
We
hate
had
it.
one like we didn't like the modern. We didn't have a mod like when I was growing up, like when I was a teenager or something. We had something similar, but it was
Mm-hmm.
just basically this light that just spun and made it look like fire. There was no heating part of it or anything,
Oh, yeah, this has both.
but yeah, I love what they. I was at one of my trainings with Sandra Ingerman. We were in these cabins. It was in California in Sonoma, and these cabins were hooked up. There was a fireplace in each cabin, and the fireplace was connected to the thermostat, so that
Oh,
in the
yeah.
middle of the night, if the temperature dropped to a certain amount, the fireplace would just whoosh come on. You'd wake up in the middle of the night and the fire was going. It was just like it was so cool. It was so
I
cool.
actually had one of those once. I
Hmm.
lived in an apartment by myself in Redmond Ridge, which was really cool. So east of Seattle, but it was like up a little bit, like past Microsoft and all of that. Up the hill, it felt like a little bit of a mountain retreat up there. Cute little one bedroom apartment. But yeah, it had this fireplace and it would do that. It was connected to the thermostat. So when the power went out, it would actually, you could still turn it on. You could still get heat.
Oh, that's
So,
cool.
so yeah, that was
I miss
nice.
having. I used to have a fireplace in my apartment, my last apartment before this one, and but it was a wood burning one. It was just, I loved that so much. I remember one of the first times I got my wood together and I lit it, and I'm sitting in my living room with this fire, and I'm like, are you sure this is legal?
Yeah. These days, it's hard to know, right? Things like that
Yeah,
get phased out.
I would give anything for a like a real fireplace.
Yeah. I feel like what we're talking about is really bringing the outdoors indoors. And what a perfect time of year to be thinking about that because it's so cold that we're probably not going to spend a lot of time outside. To be honest, you have to be pretty brave to go out recreationally at all.
Hmm.
But I also used to listen to they used to sell CDs of nature sounds. Of
Uh
course,
huh.
now you can get it on,
That's on
streaming
YouTube
or
and stuff.
whatever.
Yeah.
But I love that. And when I put stuff like that on for my kids or even just like focus music or something, they're like, "Oh, it feels so nice." But it's like,
Hmm.
yeah, it's bringing that energy of nature in. So I know that you're someone who connects deeply with nature. So here we are
Definitely. Yep.
in the depths of winter. It gets dark real early up here. So what do you do to stay connected?
Like that, put the fireplace on my my TV, or the nature sound. Like there's a bunch of videos that are like cat. They're videos for cats where they have the birds hopping around and the squirrels, and I'll put that on because the birds are singing. So it's like nature sounds for me, and my cat will go up to the screen and be like, but I've been doing like I've been trying to, I'm a sacred pipe carrier. And so I try as much as I can to get down. I've got a couple places on the river I go down and do ceremony. So I still try to get outside a little bit. And if I don't do that, at least trying to walk a little bit so that I'm outside at least a little bit, like during the daylight, which isn't always easy here because we had
It's
days
quick.
upon days of rain. But that's one of the ways. And then like through my art, because I love drawing animals and stuff, and so like I'll be doing drawing, and it'll kind of connect me to the animal, so it feels like that natural, bringing the outdoors indoor. I like that.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. I know a few years ago I collected a bunch of house plants
mm,
right around Christmas time. And that was my attempt to sort of bring some tropical, lush vegetation into the house. And
mm-hmm,
it really does change the space. It's, so many people are into house plants now, which is really cool. And it's kind of this indoor gardening experience. But you're talking about like going out to the river and doing pipe ceremony and all of that. But do you have to like watch the weather to find a dry day to be able to go out, or
um
what's your threshold for for bad weather?
if it's like, if it's like pouring rain, or or a lot of times I'll get busy during the day, and by the time I'm able to go, it's dark out. um with the days being as short as they are now, that becomes kind of an issue. But as far as the weather goes, there's not really any weather I won't go, because there's a walking bridge over the. It's like there's a trail through the woods down to where I usually do ceremony,
Mm-hmm.
and there's a walking bridge across. Is like connects the golf course from one section of the golf course to the other, and
Mm-hmm.
so I'll sit under there and do pipe ceremony under the bridge, so that I'm sheltered from the rain, and just make sure, like someone says, like there's no such thing as bad weather as
Mm-hmm.
what you're wearing and
Mm-hmm.
stuff. So I just try to bundle up as much as I can.
Yeah.
And being
Um,
from Minnesota, I know how to layer.
you should.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't. I like I get the concept, but I haven't had a lot of practice with it because I'm not a skier or anything either. So the weather's generally pretty mild. But yeah, so we do a spiritual discussion group on Tuesdays. We've been on a little bit of break over the holiday. So that actually is going to come back on Tuesday, February 11th for anyone who's interested. nadiadelacruz.com/events, or just go to the homepage, find the events. So we're doing mindfulness and inspiration, and it's a great, like a small group environment. We do a little guided meditation. We talk about some inspiration and we open it up for conversation. But one of the things that we had talked about before that I found really inspiring was this idea of having a sit spot, where you go outside and like you pick a spot and that's your spot. And you go and you sit out there for however many minutes, like every day. And I thought how amazing that would be, because you're observing the changes from day to day. You're observing the changes from season to season. And I was like, would it work in the winter? Well, it would if you dress appropriately. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, some days you're going to have to dress a little more than others, but if you have something waterproof and warm, you really could do that. And so I've had that in the back of my mind of like, I want to go sit outside and just experience the weather as it is. It doesn't have to be for a long period of time. But you know what I find?
Huh.
I'm noticing a pattern with myself around this time of year, probably like after Thanksgiving. I just go into hibernation mode. And it's kind of bizarre, and it kind of makes perfect sense, because I keep thinking like, ooh, like I'm going to get up early and make the most of the daylight, and
Yeah.
like we're going to feel so much better because we're going to go for walks and we're going to do all these things. And then what happens is I just don't feel it. Like I'm not motivated to go for the walks that we were doing before.
Mm-hmm.
It gets dark so early. Like if you're not paying attention, the sun goes down before you've noticed, and you're like, oh, well, there was another day.
Yeah.
But then it's like, I don't think it's a bad thing either, but I definitely do feel like biologically I'm going into hibernation mode. I don't
Yeah.
know if I'm sleeping more, but I'm definitely indoors more, and I'm kind of slowing down. I'm a little bit more introspective, but I feel like it leaves this space for things to fall away and
Mm-hmm.
for clarity to come. So I know we
Exactly.
talked about this briefly before we started recording today, is this sense of like going through the muck, like things changing, things falling away. I definitely feel things falling away, but this year it kind of feels like a relief. This year it kind of feels like dead branches coming off. It kind of
Uh-huh.
feels like things that I've been thinking about making a move on or making a change on, and like whatever was making me hold on to those things before kind of has dissolved.
Exact. That's been the way with me too. It's like been losing a lot, like a lot of things just falling away or falling apart or not working anymore. And it really, like, if I sit down and look, it's like, oh, okay, yep, I see where that one's going, because it's a clearing away
Mm-hmm.
of like the distractions and those things that we hold on, like the little convenient distractions we hold on to
Mm-hmm.
keep from doing our work. And so it's like, okay, yep, and just kind of go, oh, there's that one. All right. I actually started. I get those fake eagle feathers. They're like goose feathers that are dipped
Dipped.
with the black, so they look like eagle feathers. And I'll wrap them with string with thread, and then I've got it's actually a wolf bone that I've been hanging them off of. Every time I hit another crisis or another thing shifts or falls apart, I give myself another feather so I can
Wow.
like look at it and see, look at the like, look how well I'm doing. Look, these are all the things I lost, and here I've got this visual thing of what I've gained.
Yeah. It's like lightening your load almost.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, especially lately, it's not just the little things that are falling away. It's really some of the big commitments or some of the things that like have been building up for years. And instead of me going, oh wait, no, 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 I don't want to let it go, like all of a sudden, like I don't feel like chasing after it. And there's such a relief in that. And I feel like just under the surface of that is this
Mm-hmm.
excitement for when I let go of that, what is this going to make space for? And
Exactly.
and that we
Exactly.
can reinvent ourselves, we can reinvent our lives, we can sort of let the universe work more freely in our lives to bring us new people, new experiences, new ideas, new ways. Sometimes it's even just a simplification,
Yeah,
you know, like just simplifying our lives or getting really clear about what's important to us and what we want so we can live intentionally. So this winter time, this hibernation that I'm feeling, that um the way we're raised culturally, I feel like I should be embarrassed or apologetic or like, it's all
hmm,
this achievement and high energy and be really outgoing, and then like I swear every winter, like I don't know why it's taken me this long to really see the pattern, but every winter, like after Thanksgiving until maybe January, February ish. Like, then I
hmm,
feel like I start kind of like venturing out more. But it just feels like a really important time to like let the dust settle, let the mud
exactly.
settle so that you can get that clarity and look around and go, what do I still want to hold on to? What is already leaving that I don't have to do anything about except
Hmm,
let it happen, choose not to interfere, and then like find our center again. So,
exactly. And that's exactly what, I mean, that's what nature is doing right now. And, you know, kind of going to sleep, dropping all the leaves, and we'll grow new ones in the spring. So it's like you got, the, you know, deer dropping antlers and
mhm.
grow new ones. It's kind of like that cycle. And it's like we feel so disconnected from the natural world that we think, oh, that doesn't apply to us anymore because we're civilized,
Right.
and but we still have those same cycles going on inside because we are earth, air, fire, and water.
Yeah.
And so those same cycles, those same processes take place inside of us as well as around us. So, and it does feel counterproductive because we're taught, well, you got to produce just as much in the wintertime as you do in the
Yeah.
summertime, but it doesn't work that way. And it's the inhale and the exhale basically, you know.
Ah, yes. But we live in this system of capitalism that, by its very foundation, depends on constant growth, right? Everything has to get bigger, more, 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 more. There's not this in breath, out breath, in breath, out breath,
Right.
even though as individuals and probably as corporations as well, we really need to be allowing for that to have healthy growth. You need to have this
Can you
ebb and
imagine a
flow.
world where that were the norm?
It sounds so beautiful to
And you,
actually put human beings first and pay attention to our nature and care about those who are different from us and not just try and climb over the little guy or, fight your way to
yeah.
the top or just live in this system. I mean, I used to have a 9 to 5 job, and I'm kind of an artsy type, I guess, and I've always been a night owl. So I functioned. Actually, there was a long period of time I started at 7 o'clock in the morning every day,
Hmm.
um, which means I was getting up earlier than that, which sounds crazy to me now because that's
I
me
hear
time. What
ya.
are we
I
doing?
hear ya.
But no, but like I adapted to that system, but it never felt natural. It never came easy. It never felt right. But then I would look around and see other people who were just like, like
Yeah.
they would thrive on this routine and their morning schedule. And I think even if they weren't coming into work, like that's still when they would be up and active and like feeling their best. I mean, maybe by 3 in the afternoon they're crashing and I'm just starting to build some steam. But it's like we're all built that way, and I think they've even done studies on the chronotypes where we're it's like I don't know what it is, like a third of people are naturally awake early in the morning and a third of people are naturally awake kind of in the middle zone there and a third of people are naturally awake at night. And evolutionary speaking, like that kind of makes a lot of sense in terms of there's
It
always
does.
somebody to tend the fire, there's always somebody to keep an eye out. Like, why can't we just embrace our differences and work together instead of trying to,
Exactly.
fit into something that doesn't fit right? So I guess I'm standing here on my soapbox for the purpose of telling anybody out there who's listening, that if you're a night owl like me, or you're someone who doesn't, traditionally fit into the morning person stereotype and you think that you're inferior, I don't believe that at all. I think that we need to respect our bodies and nature and our own cycle and leave space for that. And also, like, sometimes we're tired for other reasons, you know?
Absolutely.
And if we don't stop and take a breath, like, when are we ever going to figure out what it is that we need? And you don't want to burn yourself out. So it takes a rebellious person to go against the grain and actually be self-directed.
Right. That's salmon medicine. Like the salmon swimming upstream. Everyone else is going downstream. Like, what's that crazy fish doing? But it's like, it takes courage and it takes enthusiasm to actually follow, to validate. Salmon sees the pathways where the water flows the other way, like whirlpools and stuff. And so it's like trusting your own vision of your own path, no matter what anyone else is doing. And being the odd one out, that, when that's your path, you're meant to be seen.
Yeah.
Because you're an example of what you're supposed to do, not,
Yeah. Or meant to not care whether you're seen or not, because that's kind of what it takes to maintain your own guidance. I know that growth isn't always easy, and that's an understatement, right? And sometimes we have to face difficult things, and sometimes, it takes a little more effort to do something that we know is what we want or is going to be beneficial for us. But most of the time, I've gotten to a point that I really believe that what we're doing should feel natural.
Yeah.
Now, it doesn't mean that it's not going to take some effort, right?
Mm-hmm.
But the choices that you're making should feel natural to you. And I feel like if you're getting pressured into something that doesn't feel natural, then it's not in alignment, or it's not the right timing.
Exactly. Alignment is everything. Alignment should come first before action.
Yeah.
It's from alignment that you get the intuitive nudge as to what action to perform or what direction to go in. And it shouldn't. If we're just doing actions, all you're doing is rearranging boxes. You're not changing anything.
Yeah.
But if you're going to alignment, then it's like, then you're inspired. Then every action you do is inspired action.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah.
Like, even if you have an idea for something and you're like, ooh, that sounds like a great idea, but you don't feel like it. Mm-hmm. Like, maybe that's an idea for another time. Maybe that's an idea for later on, and you can kind of take that in the back. But I feel like that brings us to resolutions. That's a nice segue, right? I worked that in. But just because January 1st of our calendar year comes along, whatever that means, right? Whatever that means, January 1st, it doesn't mean that that's when you have to start a new diet, quit smoking, start exercising, start a weightlifting program, like whatever it is. Traditionally, a lot of those resolutions are around health, which, hey, like doing things that you feel like are going to improve the health and function of your body, great. But why January 1st, right? And are you doing it because you love yourself so much that you want to do what feels good? That you love yourself so much that taking these little small actions every day is really just going to make you feel on purpose,
Mm-hmm.
Or is it that you feel like you're not good enough, that something's wrong with you, that you need to be fixed? And that's where most of these resolutions are coming from, this place of feeling like you're not good enough, that you're broken, you need to be fixed.
You should be doing this or should be doing that.
Yeah, all those shoulds. And there's so much in the spiritual communities too about like fixing yourself, right? And I just think that that is the wrong place to come from at all, that it's always going to feel like work. You know,
Totally agree.
it
Yeah,
can tear you down instead of building you up, when if you were taking the same action for a different reason, it might not look that different, but it would feel a whole lot different.
exactly. Exactly.
So what's your approach to New Year's resolutions? Do you make them? What do you
I
think
don't
about it?
I don't really do resolutions. Um I kind of and I don't it's like January 1st, I know it's the new year, etc., and I kind of celebrate it that way. But I take like the month of January is kind of like a no man's land kind of thing for me. It's like
The
uh,
void.
that's it's when I think it's like when I start to think about, okay, what do I want to do this year? Who do I what's my what's my mission statement or whatever, and then February 1st or 2nd is Imbolc, which is
Mm-hmm.
the Celtic, on the Celtic calendar. It's the first day of spring,
Mm-hmm.
and it's a day of dedication. It's a day. It's like it's always around that time that the daffodils start to poke their little heads out. It's like this quickening, and that makes so much more sense to me. Like that's the time to feel that aliveness and to actually move toward what you want to do. But then again, like just exactly what you said, it's not so much what should I do, but it's like it's moving more toward who I am. How do I don't know how to put it into words, but um, to move toward the wholeness that's already there, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'll like sometimes I'll dedicate myself to like a deity or something, like, okay, I'm going to focus on this deity and their messages and their connection with me for the year. Or I've had like, I remember one I did, like, it was the year of acting boldly.
Mm.
And so it's like whenever there was a yes or a no, I'd answer yes.
Yeah.
Like if there was an opportunity for a new experience, I would go for the new experience, whether I liked it or not, whether I normally would have or not. It's like, okay, I just need to be bold and to bring out that, like Wayne Dyer talks about with, being a spirit having a human experience. It's like moving toward the spirit of me rather than the human of me, and
Mm-hmm.
letting that be kind of the bar that you move toward.
Mm-hmm.
So I haven't decided this year quite yet exactly what I'm going to dedicate myself to, but it's going to be more of a dedication than like resolutions. And,
Mm-hmm.
and usually it's kind of just dedicating to my path, where it's like re rededicating myself to like my integrity, to really listening to my intuition, to really following my guidance and being, true to myself over.
Alignment.
Exactly.
Yeah.
In a word. Yeah,
Yeah, so I
exactly.
used to do a word of the year for a while, and I feel like that would be a good word for you this year, is
Yeah,
alignment, is
I
staying
think
in
I
alignment.
got tingles. So
I did too.
I think you're correct. So okay, thank you. That's my
Yeah.
word for the year.
I'm
Alignment.
interpreting the energy
Yep.
you're sending. I'm like, this feels like
Hmm.
alignment. Yeah, I have a little board in my office here that I had written words of the day, or words of the year, which was kind of like I would take some time to like, meditate and tune in, or maybe pull some cards, or just kind of open to spirit giving me some guidance, and like what feels like what is my word of the year, that's kind of a guiding energy of really where I'm already headed, but it just gives some
Exactly.
clarity about the journey. I've also set intentions, like
Hmm.
connecting to things that I want to manifest.
Yeah.
Another fun thing that I like to do at the beginning of the year is I had this tarot journal, and I've gotten a couple versions of it, but it'll give you writing prompts
Uh,
for like a daily card, but it also has like, it suggests different card spreads. So you can do like a spread for the year, or for the month, or for like a new moon or a full moon, or like different kinds of things. And it also gives you space to kind of reflect on like, what went well, or how did it match up to the readings that you had done about that before, and like where is this leading? And I feel like that's just kind of a nice little like guided way to tune in. And
Yeah.
to be honest, I haven't done mine yet this year. Like
Mm-hmm.
I might even do it today, because I feel like I'm like right on the cusp of like sitting down with that. I did sort of a little recap one for the year, but looking forward, this is kind of my first time. I'm just starting to look forward. So to be honest, we didn't meet with some of our family until like a week into January.
Uh-huh.
So we had kind of an extended Christmas that way. And it wasn't until like a day or two after that that it felt like, oh, okay, we finished Christmas. Now, we're kind of settling in and like, oh, okay, like I guess it's January now, but of course it's already
Mm-hmm.
more than halfway through. That's what
Exactly.
happens sometimes. But yeah, I think it's really interesting that if you're thinking about things from a spiritual perspective, and you're thinking about things from what's authentic and what's in alignment for you, and what's going to, support how you really feel and who you really are, and what you need and what you desire, and kind of taking that inspiration to heart,
Mm-hmm.
and then bringing it out into the world, not in a rush, not because you have to or should or any of those things, but on the timeline that feels right. And it does feel like does take, you got to be pretty bold to like resist all the pressure to like get on the bandwagon for
Right.
New
Yep.
Year, but
Exactly.
I'm
Yeah.
not feeling it. So like we'll get there when we
Yeah.
get there. But
Yeah.
again, all that hibernation, I feel like things are falling away and that clarity is coming. And that's probably the most important thing to happen right now in the depth of winter.
Exactly.
And like you said with Imbolc in February, like that is kind of when I start moving a little bit more. Not real fast. I'm not coming at it as a race, but start moving a little bit more, maybe take action on some of the things that I had envisioned and planted seeds for. And
Mm-hmm.
yeah, and then by the
I
time,
actually,
spring comes, things feel different. It feels different.
to me, that is like in bulk is the beginning of spring,
Mm-hmm.
but you know, but I actually just yesterday I texted a friend who allows me to go stay at her cabin in the woods sometimes, and
Mm-hmm.
I reserved that weekend so that I could actually
Mine.
like
I got it. Mine.
exactly. It's like I'm gonna sit in the woods all weekend. I'm gonna smoke my pipe, and I'm gonna meditate. I'm gonna journey. I'm gonna talk to my guides, and I'm gonna
Yeah.
I don't know if it'll actually. I always have to do it like it's like the little kid getting excited in the candy store, right?
Uh-huh.
But so I always have to be kind of like give myself some grace as far as what actually happens
Yeah.
versus what I plan. But yeah,
But
I've
it's an
already set that
opportunity
time.
for a deep dive. So that's
It
good. You got to
is.
make space for that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I know my daughter loves being outside. Her name is River, and I think that turned out to be very appropriate because she's very attuned to nature, but she's been telling me lately like I really like being outside, but it's so cold and there's nobody out there, because she'll play with her friends sometimes in the
Mm-hmm.
front of the house and stuff, and there's not a lot happening in
Right.
January right now
Even the
outside. But
bears are underground, sleeping and
yeah.
dreaming.
Did you know that the marmots at Mount Rainier hibernate like 9 months out of the year?
I did not know that.
That is
No.
so long. They're only awake for a few months and then they tuck themselves back in.
I heard about, I just recently, I don't know where it came from. I have no idea the validity, but I saw something about this village of people someplace over in Europe or somewhere that basically did the same thing. Like winter came, they just went to sleep and didn't wake up until springtime. I don't know how true it is. I don't know
I
where it
hope they
was,
were okay.
but it was like, yeah, like, okay.
Did they recover from carbon monoxide poisoning? Was there a fire in that? Like, you gotta ventilate that.
Maybe they built up enough body fat, in the
Oh my
summertime that
gosh.
they could, and I think it was someplace up north. So it's like where it's like, 3 months of darkness or
Right.
whatever.
I don't know. I mean,
So I
anything's
have no
possible,
idea.
right? Our biology certainly shifts, but To be clear, I am still eating, but not on like a normal schedule. It's just kind
Yeah,
of
yeah, yeah.
we go with what works. Yeah. Okay. So we talked about cards, and I kind of thought it might be fun. Did you know that Dr. Wayne Dyer has some cards?
I didn't.
So it's not oracle cards or tarot cards, it's affirmation cards. But I have
Oh,
a couple of ones. This one is the Inner Peace cards by Dr. Wayne
mm-hmm.
Dyer. I don't even think they sell these anymore, but these are always fun, and you can pull them just like an oracle card.
I
Just
like
get like a
that.
little mess. So let's get a little message. Okay, so this one says, I appreciate all that I am and all that I have. And on the back it says, stop focusing on what you do not have and shift your consciousness to an appreciation for all that you are and all that you do have.
Oh,
A moment of appreciation. And
uh,
what you focus on expands. So
exactly.
I've been thinking a lot about the impact of social media and the news and having our devices on us all the time, especially as a parent. I feel like it's
Mm-hmm.
not just a responsibility for my own well being, but teaching good habits for my kids. And it's not just about like being safe online, it's also about like what's healthy, what's healthy
Yeah.
for your mind and emotions and having a balanced life. But I will say that there is a tendency towards the salacious and the depressing, and the news is typically bad news, and social media can very quickly kind of just spread like wildfire anything that's controversial or upsetting
Mm-hmm.
or whatever. And so I feel like we really need to make a choice to be happy,
Mm-hmm.
and then we need to follow through on that choice by paying attention to how
Yeah.
things feel. And so I think in this spirit of shifting your consciousness and focus on what you do have, if you can, before you even check your phone in the morning, take like 5 minutes just to feel that gratitude
Mm-hmm.
for the life that you have right here where you are. It may not be perfect, but you've got a lot of good things. And I
Yeah.
know Wayne's big suggestion too was about before you go to sleep at night, that the
Mm.
last 5 minutes, whatever you think about, is what you're going to marinate on for 8 hours.
Right.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
morning and night, even if your day goes a little bit crazier than expected,
Mm-hmm.
and 2025 feels like rolling the dice.
Yeah.
I mean, we're talking about energy, and I know we both feel things on an energetic level. That is the blessing and the curse of being a little more sensitive. You can feel energy, and energy's information. And for me right now, 2025 feels like we're going to have a lot of unexpected twists and turns.
Mm-hmm.
Some of it's going to be amazing, some of it's going to
Mm-hmm.
be not so amazing. So I almost feel like I got to like strap my tools onto my back, do some stretches, and
Mm-hmm.
like get ready for anything, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like anticipate the good things that are going to happen, but like get ready for anything, because I do think we might have to pivot along the way.
Yeah. See, I'm the opposite. I'm like, I don't know what's going to happen this year, so I need to be loose and ready
Mm.
for anything. Like a cat. A cat
Not
doesn't.
carrying
Cat.
anything.
No, exactly. And so you have more freedom of movement. You can pivot,
You're like a
and
ninja, Patrick.
cool. But you can see me just because I'm letting you see me. So. Did you hear about this? Is funny. There's a town someplace that they have an annual ninja parade.
Oh,
And everyone gets their chairs out and they come and they sit on the curb and they watch the empty street as the ninjas, because the ninjas are invisible.
that's hilarious.
I love human. I love
I
that.
would
That's just,
actually go to that, but
I
that's
so
hilarious.
would. I so would. I just think humanity is so awesome. Like that's the kind of things that just feeds me. But
So you want to
um,
pull some cards for us and see
I
if
just pulled
maybe.
one. I just pulled one, and I
Okay, what do
got
we got?
porcupine.
Ooh, prickly.
And this kind of fits in with what you were saying with your card. It's like porcupine is about innocence. It's about purity, and um, porcupine is basically the inner child, and it's that sense of excitement, that sense of anticipation, because porcupine doesn't have to worry about what's coming at him. He's protected. He's got the quills, and you might think, well, oh yeah, he can do that just because he's got those quills.
Mm-hmm.
But or you can say, the quills are an expression of who he is.
Mm.
And so by being himself, he has this protection that keeps him safe. And like I like to, if you take the quills and imagine that each one is a ray of light, it's like porcupine becomes this little star shining light in every direction. And that keeps anything of a darker light or heavier energy of coming and getting him. So he can just be this little ball of light, just kind of roaming through the forest, looking at all the happy little things and exploring and curiosity and all that kind of stuff. So it's like protection, like innocence is its own protection.
I
And
like
so
that.
that's why I like, instead of like tightening up and getting ready to fight, or it's like there. I just did a video the other day. I put it on my YouTube channel about when we start to feel that resistance, like the things are happening in the world, and we start to
Mm-hmm.
feel tight and feel that resistance. It's like we are physically giving up our power to this thing that isn't even visible to us. And so we're like, oh, that thing is happening way over there someplace. Oh my God, I need to protect myself.
Mm-hmm.
But there's nothing physically to protect yourself from. And so it's like giving up that power. You're letting someone else control how you express in the world. And so if you can stay open and just like let go of that resistance and just shine your light like porcupine, because in our purest form, again, like, being spirits having a human experience, I'm not going to say that, your physical body can still be harmed. You can still die or whatever, but who you are is indestructible.
Mm-hmm.
And when you live from that place, that higher vibration, where you're expressing all that light coming from you, it's resonance, it's frequency. The things that would harm you get pushed out of the way.
Mm-hmm.
And so by staying in that place of light and love and joy is what protects you. And things might happen, but they're not going to affect you in the same way that people that are all tight and afraid, and you know so that's what porcupine is like. It's what do I want to say? Again, it's that alignment, because when you're aligned, that's when you're the highest frequency. You don't tighten up and push your frequency upwards. It's
Right.
like, because you're already a high frequency. So it's in that letting go and allowing that light to come forth that's already there. That's how things start syncing up, and miracles happen. People show up out of the blue to give you exactly what you need or whatever. And no matter what's going on the other side of the country or another, side of the world, you're still co-creating your reality, and no one can affect that but you.
Yeah.
And it's about what you allow. Like they talk about, like the integrity of a ship. It's not what's outside the ship that makes it sink. It's what gets inside the ship.
That's
And
true.
so if you're shining this light outward, there's nothing that can get in to sink you.
Yeah.
And so it's and it's one of those things. It's easy to say,
Right.
but it's
You have
like,
to feel it. And
yeah,
feeling it, I think, takes practice.
because we're
So,
not taught to be in our feelings, we're taught to be in our head.
well, and we're taught to be focused on fear as a way to keep ourselves safe.
Right.
And what you're describing is the exact opposite of that. So, fear is constriction, right?
Exactly.
Right, like you're drawing in, like the porcupine is, like, if the porcupine did it from that approach, he's drawing in because he's scared and he like feels danger, sees danger around him, and is like putting out the spikes as like stay away. So then you live in this stay away energy, which some people do.
Mm-hmm.
The reverse of that, which you're saying is the medicine of porcupine, right, if I'm understanding correctly, is emanating this light.
Mm-hmm.
And that by being fully in who you are, you're not worrying about what's over there and what's over there. You're not coming with this assumption that danger is all around you and expecting the
Mm-hmm.
worst. You're just living fully in your truth. You're shining your light, and that's a sense of expansion. So
Exactly.
fear, contraction, right? And this
Right.
faith, this integrity is expansiveness.
Right. Because like a porcupine, he's kind of a convix, right? He's like
Mm-hmm.
this little lump that points the quills outward. If he contracts, he becomes convex and
Mm-hmm.
the quills start poking himself,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's one way to think of it. Like when you start to
You
contract,
hurt
you're
yourself.
hurting yourself.
Yeah.
And I learned that through, I went through more than a decade of extreme anxiety and panic attacks. And that's one of the biggest things I learned through that time was that a lot of the anxiety and the panic attacks were basically me being afraid of my own power.
Mm.
And it was like that power would turn inward on me and I would freak out
Mm-hmm.
because I didn't
Yeah.
have any place for it to go. And it's that same kind of thing. And so it's like expanding, like when there's something freaking you out, I always recommend it's like if you're having a bad day or something is scary or you're feeling like you need to constrict and pull back, like watch a documentary, watch even a short educational video on YouTube, read a book, learn something new, expand.
Yeah. It's the
Because
antidote.
that's where the safety is. The safety is in the expansion, not in the constriction.
There's this old practice, you've probably been taught this as well. It's like a meditation technique where you envision a bubble of protection around you. And I actually love this technique. I did this technique for years. I did this in the beginning when I was first learning meditation, and it had helped me feel safe enough to open up
Mm-hmm.
after having been closed for a long time because I had a scary experience that happened to me decades ago. And so I didn't feel safe to kind of open to feeling things, open to connecting with spirit, that sense of meditation. It's like I didn't feel anchored in my body, and I was taught this method. So I'm not taking away from the beauty of this, but
Mm-hmm.
I was also taught this as a way of like protection. That like before you leave the house or whatever, like envision your bubble, put your bubble up around you that only love can come in, right?
Right. Right.
That it's not blocking out the good, but like it's this protection. But I actually found over the years that a better method is actually to just amplify my own light
Exactly.
and let the light be what protects me. Not because it's fighting anything, but because light transforms darkness without
Exactly.
action. And I think about, the stories of like Jesus walking into a room and it changes the energy of the room. And we all do that,
Yeah.
when you come in, like the energy that you're bringing to it affects everybody. It changes how people respond to you. I do think it's absolutely possible that somebody who might have harmed you will make a choice not to harm you because you feel so different that it like throws them off, or they have
Right.
like they
Yeah.
second guess or
Absolutely.
whatever. So I don't think it's all
Absolutely.
just like airy fairy
No.
light work,
No.
whatever. I do think it actually like we don't sort of acknowledge the unseen as being real, but we have language for it. like you walked into the room and you could cut the tension with a knife. It's like
Right.
these things that we feel, we all feel it.
Well, they
I think
stabbed me in the back.
it's time, like there's a chill in the air. Like it's time that we acknowledge that you can feel the energy of a person or an interaction or something that's happening in the room or near you, or sometimes even just somebody you're connected to that isn't even around you. And so if we are operating from that, knowing that we are a spiritual being having a human experience, we
Hmm.
remember that the core of us, the essence of us, is this eternal presence, then we can tap into that light that is us and also more than us, because it's unlimited. We're all
Exactly.
connected. That I think that has been a much better practice, is that if I'm feeling nervous about something or I'm feeling sensitive, that instead of bubbling up, right, in
Hmm.
my bubble,
Right.
um,
Exactly.
if I actually just like go in and like find that light and kind of feed that light, let that light grow and expand, and then walk around with your light shining, and that makes me feel better. It makes the people around me feel better, and it can really change the experience. Yeah.
'Cause you can't be a beacon if your light don't shine. You can't be a beacon if your light don't shine. There's a little light in all of us by God's design. You can't be a beacon if your light don't shine.
We're such good hippies, Patrick.
I know, right?
We were born a
Woo!
little bit late, but we're such good hippies.
Mm-hmm.
So I wanted to ask you in the
Can I
thread.
take a moment? I need to grab my phone charger.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
just
of
got the
course.
10% notice, and
Sure.
I don't want to lose you, so I'll be right back. It was kind of a spur of the moment, not really. I mean, we had talked about doing this, but it was kind of like, okay, we're gonna, blah, blah, so I came to this like not
You're living in the
totally
moment,
prepared.
Patrick.
All right, ta-da!
Okay, so what I wanted to ask you was, what nourishes porcupine?
It's it reminds it what that brings up for me. I remember seeing a show about it wasn't one of those like ancient alien things or anything, but it was the scientists were talking about if we meet an alien race, if there are aliens out there, what would be our common ground? And the scientist, it was so cool. He was like, every living thing has curiosity.
Mm,
And so that's one thing, an alien race, if we run into an alien race, we're going to find each other because of mutual curiosity.
mm-hmm.
And to me, that's really a big part of porcupine. It's like that curiosity, what's out there, like Star Trek, right? It's like to explore strange new worlds. And it's like because porcupine is totally protected and safe, he can have the courage to expand beyond comfort zones, to explore new lands, and oh, what's that shining up there? Oh, and going and investigating.
Mm-hmm.
And again, so it's kind of again it's that expansion versus constriction, because it's like the scarcity mind versus the abundance mind. And
Yeah.
it's like everything it like I always use that one quote from Einstein that is basically said the biggest decision you'll ever make is whether you live in a friendly universe or a hostile one.
Yep. That's a
And
big
that's the
one.
essence of porcupine, is he lives in a friendly universe. And so it's that curiosity, that constant looking for the new things, mystery is what really nurtures porcupine, metaphysically anyway.
Okay, so
And
here's
that,
so here's a good affirmation. I live in a friendly universe.
yes.
Right? We're going to need that this year. We're going to need to remind ourselves and look for it. It's like
Yeah.
Mr. Rogers always saying, look for the helpers, right?
Right.
And we're obviously seeing some natural tragedies, the fires in California right
Mm-hmm.
now being a very obvious example on the minds and hearts of so many. And we're living at a time where there are a lot of things like that coming up, um, natural and unnatural. And so I think we need to remind ourselves that we live in a friendly universe and
Mm-hmm.
look for evidence of that. We're gonna feel better. We're gonna connect with each other more
Mm-hmm.
when we're
Mm-hmm.
coming from that place.
Yeah.
Um, Wayne Dyer talked about that so much that, like,
Mm-hmm.
instead of judging somebody who's different from you or reacting in fear, get curious about what you don't understand. Get curious
Right.
about what you're afraid of or what upset you or what's even the source of conflict. And
Exactly.
and I'll tell you, over the last year or whenever, like, I have gotten more and more curious about politics and about people who maybe see things differently than I do, and I'm like, I don't understand how they're coming to these conclusions. And
Yeah.
so instead of just being like dismissive, like, oh, they're crazy or they're
Right.
bad people or whatever, I don't think that that's inherently true overall for human beings. I do think most people are
No.
really good. So there must be something I'm not understanding. And so there's actually been a few times where I went digging for, like, where is this perspective coming from? Because as we know, we sort of live in different internet bubbles now, and your search results
Right.
are going to be different, whatever. So there's been a few times that it actually really helped. Like, it's kind of weird to like dip the toe into I don't want to see enemy water because I don't believe in enemies. It's not us versus them, but just
Yeah.
sort of a
Absolutely.
different perspective of like, where is this coming from? And what are people hoping for and what are they afraid of? And, why might they be feeling that way? And it's really helped me to look for that common ground and kind of
Yeah, because
remember that
everybody basically wants to be loved. Everybody wants to be seen. Everybody wants to be heard.
they want their families to be provided for. Maybe they don't want
Right.
your family to be provided for, but they do want their family to be provided for. And that's, at
And
least that piece of it is pretty universal.
it's
And
common ground. Yeah. And
yeah,
that's what we have to work on, those common grounds, and figure out, well, just because this family is provided for over here doesn't mean that they're taking away from your family being
right.
provided for. We have to, like, and I actually get addressed that in that video I mentioned. It really comes down, like, for me, it's that it's basically the namaste thing,
Mm-hmm.
right? The divine in me sees the divine in you, and it doesn't matter who you're looking at, who's in front of you. There are, like you said, there are no enemies.
Yeah.
We're all in this. There's no they, there's only we.
When we hurt
And
each
so,
other, we are truly hurting ourselves.
right. And so
Yeah.
we like to see the divine, even in the people who are, who would, wipe you out without a thought,
Mm-hmm.
to see the divine in them. And it might, again, it sounds like such a flimsy, airy fairy, hippy dippy thing, but it really makes a difference, And I always like to bring up the double slit experiment.
Yeah.
Do you know what that
No.
is? Oh, it's this amazing experiment. I think the original was in the 60s or 70s, and they've done it since then. But scientists were trying to figure out if light was a wave or a particle.
Okay.
And so they have a light source, and then they had like a board with one slit in it, and they had a board behind it. And like with one slit, um, you would get that interference pattern on the back, so it looked like light was a particle.
Uh-huh.
But if they put two slits, if light acted as a particle, each light particle would have to decide which slit it was going through, because it could only go through one.
Right.
If it's a wave, it's going to go through both. And the results of this experiment were that unless it's being observed, light acts as a wave. And as soon as someone watches it, it acts as a particle. And so it's that perception is really what collapses the potential field of everything into one reality or another reality. And
So
so the more
fascinating.
you can see exactly, and it's like, so the more you look at someone and see the divine in them, it doesn't mean you excuse them for what they're doing. It doesn't mean you allow them to run ramshot over, other people's rights and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But it gives them the opening, like you said, like Jesus walking into a room and raising the vibration of
Mm-hmm.
everyone there. If you're in your divine self, looking at their divine self, you're the higher energy, and it's like you're reaching out, like to a drowning person, raising them up. And I'm not saying it's like magic, like overnight, like, oh my God, I can't believe I was doing all that. But think about how many, if we had enough people doing that,
Yeah.
how much it would change. There wouldn't be room for the abuses that happen right now. And even I don't remember if it was in Chicago or New York, someplace that they did this experiment. They had, I think it was, I don't remember the exact numbers. I'm gonna just say 100. They had like 100 people meditating every day in that area, like a certain area of the city, and during that time period when they, like, not just when they were meditating, but the days or the weeks or whatever that they were doing that, crime went down. Things, like everything just improved. And then when they ran out of money and they stopped the experiment, it all went back again. And so it's like consciousness is the determining factor in all of it. It's our consciousness, our perception, and again, to that curiosity and that willingness to see the brightness rather than the darkness.
Mm-hmm. We think we've
And
got it all figured out, but there's so much real magic. There's so much mystery. I think we undersell ourselves a lot. That
absolutely,
if we just leave a little room for the mysterious, we might be pleasantly surprised at what shows up.
absolutely, absolutely. I tell people that all the time. Like, leave room for the miracles.
Yeah.
We don't have to have every single step of the way figured out. Because you do
No,
that,
because
you're
then
not
you're
allowing
closing doors instead of opening them.
exactly.
Yeah. So speaking of opening doors, I'm gonna pull another card. So this
Okay,
is um Kyle Gray's Angels and Ancestors. And I'm gonna
I
pull a
love that
card.
deck. I
I
love
love this
that deck.
deck too. It's got such a good vibe. So I'm gonna pull a card on like the energy for the year.
Okay,
Oh wow. I was not expecting this, Patrick. It's the
let's.
sun.
Ha
The
ha!
sun. Enjoy
Here
success and
comes the
happiness.
sun. Do,
And
do,
I
do,
think
do.
I think within this message, I mean, I'm seeing porcupine quills when I look at these rays of sunshine about just being that ball of light and making that choice for happiness, making space for you to feel what you really feel before you get influenced by whatever's going to pop up on your phone that day or whatever you're going to read or whatever somebody is going to say. Like,
Right.
tune in, choose happiness, bring that light. And that means that whatever comes, there's going to be a lot of light because this is our theme. So there is
Mm-hmm.
sunshine as a theme this year. I think that's really beautiful.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it's like, instead of assuming, oh crap, this is happening, it's going to be a hard 4 years and we're going to need to buckle down. It's like, that's exactly the wrong thing, in my opinion.
Yeah.
It's like, no, like I keep telling people, it's like, no matter who's quote unquote in power, law of attraction is still in effect. You're still a co-creator of
Yeah.
your own personal reality. And the more we take charge of that and live our 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 bliss, follow our bliss, etc., the higher the vibration, and it's gonna, I don't know how it would work out, but I
Yeah.
know it will work out, and that it won't be as severe as it would be, or it might even, happy endings and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah, instead of anticipating, stuff hitting the fan, so to speak, if we
exactly.
if we are expecting miracles to happen, then, I
Exactly.
mean, gosh, like what can't happen,
Yeah, exactly. And I like my biggest pet peeve in the world is cynicism.
Mm,
And it's like, I hear like, there's a number of people that I hear, talking about politics and stuff and blah, blah, blah. It's like, oh yeah, we need this and this. We need this person or that person. But all politicians are crooked. All politicians are dishonest, blah, blah, blah. It's like, you can't have both. You can't.
yeah.
It's like you have to believe in the basic goodness of humanity. We're social animals, and we try for the highest, good of our tribe, of our communities. That's inborn in us. That's hardwired.
Well, I think the difference is,
And
are you looking for a solution, or
right,
are you looking to defend why you think it's hopeless and there's nothing for you to do?
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like I just saw a meme today. It was a quote from Alice in Wonderland, where Alice it was said something about everybody wants a miraculous solution, but everyone refuses to believe in magic.
Yeah, that makes it kind of difficult for things to flow.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to pull three more. So I love doing a three card pull. The Strength Heart Challenge is a great one for so many situations. So I think for this, we're going to do a collective three card Strength Heart Challenge, kind of for where we're at right now. Not
Okay.
today, not this week, but kind of this season, let's
This
say, right?
general, this general now.
The general now, sort of this January, February, maybe into March, kind of this direction that we're headed. Because I think if we look too far ahead, then there's so many variables that things could really shift
Yeah.
depending on what we tune into. So let's
Yeah.
see what comes up here. Oh, I feel like they kind of all want to come out.
Me, me, me.
Okay, we've got our strength, we've got our heart, and a little baby a challenge. Oh, that's a good one. Okay, so our strength card is Star Ancestor. Follow the voice of your soul. Now, I'm going to say for all of our beautiful listeners to the Change Your Thoughts, Change Your Life podcast, you folks have been spiritually aligning and tuning in and listening and making the most of this beautiful dark season of the year and going deep, letting things fall away, letting things clarify. This is really encouraging because I think for so many of us, this is really what we're yearning for, is that connection and that ability to listen, not feel so alone, have a little bit more confidence in the decision, the direction that you're going. Now, the heart card, this represents both what we want to cultivate and also what's already on the way. So this is a good sign. This isn't an empty yearning. It's happening. Animal guardian, trust your instincts. So I'm going to say this is a little bit of an acknowledgement that we want to feel protected. We want to feel supported. There's this beautiful image on the card of this woman with the animals of nature surrounding her with all of their energy and protection and wisdom, so that if you can just sink into the strength that's within you, the strength that's all around you, the beauty that's all around you, tap into this sense of cooperation, that it's going to grow this feeling of being safe and not being alone. We're off to a good start. Now, our challenge card is sort of like the prescription. So if you want to trust your instincts, you want to be connected, here's what we need. Peacekeeper.
Oh.
And the peace pipe. Hello, Patrick, pipe carrier. Let go of the need to be right. So again, that comes back to what we were talking about, is being curious, being open to things, shining your light and not, putting yourself in a defensive position automatically because you only end up hurting yourself. So I feel like I'm going to put this one on display for a while because I feel like this is a beautiful reminder of what's available to us. That's just going to bring us closer to all of those things that we're wanting, and it doesn't really matter what anybody else is doing or what's going on out there. That you have the capability, you have the power, you have the ability to make this choice for peace and to come at things with an open heart.
Right.
And just keep cultivating your own sense of well-being. Peacekeeper.
Mm-hmm.
Beautiful. I love
I
this
pulled
deck
three
too.
cards. I pulled 3 cards to correspond with what you pulled.
Oh, sweet.
So the first one was Jaguar.
Ooh.
So that's the strength. Is that what you said?
Mm-hmm.
And Jaguar is about integrity.
Mm-hmm.
It's like being yourself to the fullest extent, being sovereign, right? Jaguar is the queen of the jungle. She's apex predator, so she doesn't have to answer to anyone. She doesn't have to ask permission. She doesn't have to justify herself. Like her mental and intuitive cells work as a union, and so by answering her heart, she takes down, like she hunts the slowest, the weakest, the sickest of the herd, and by doing what she needs, she actually helps strengthen the herd. She makes the herd faster, makes them more well, and helps them flourish. And so it's the circle of life, right? And then it all comes back to her.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's that cooperation. It's kind of like what scientists have been starting to say about how nature works in cooperation rather than competition, like the Darwin thing.
Yeah.
But it's really about being in that integrity, being in your wholeness, and not compromising yourself for anybody. Then the second one, so this is the heart. I got eagle,
Ooh.
which is basically the presence of Great Spirit. And eagle is all about. So I had a vision of eagle one time, and he came to me and he was like, his basic message was, you open your heart by spreading your wings.
Ooh. That's so good.
And that's all. Like they flap a little bit, but when they get up there, all they do is they open their wings, they open their heart, and they're carried by the wind. It's effortless. And yet they are carried higher than other birds, right? And so by just being themselves and opening their heart, they become inspirational for everybody.
And it just feels natural.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And and it's kind of like, your soul left alone naturally rises.
Mm-hmm.
As like it's taking off all the gunk, all the crap that's held you down, and just opening up and allowing yourself to soar. And then you get that, view from that perspective where you can see the entire landscape beneath you. You can see how everything's connected. It's non-linear. And at the same time that you can see that big picture, you have the ability to focus on a rabbit that's, miles away from you. And so it's like that widescreen and focus at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
And it's all by being yourself, by just opening your heart and allowing yourself, surrendering to spirit, and spirit will carry you. So
Expansive. That's beautiful.
Exactly, expand.
Mm-hmm.
Then the third one, the challenge, this is really interesting. You got wild boar.
Ooh.
Which is actually perfect because wild boar is probably the fiercest animal on the planet. And that's why, like, around the globe in different indigenous societies and stuff, it's killing a wild boar that is the rite of passage to adulthood, because you're not guaranteed to live, right? So if you survive the boar hunt, you are officially an adult. And like for me, the way I see Boar is kind of like he patrols the outside. Like we have our comfort zone in our bubble of reality. We live in the safety area, and it's always surrounded like there's this ring of fear. Like here be dragons. We don't know what's on the outside of that,
A
right?
moat of fear.
And so, and it like, but it serves a purpose, right? It's like the casing of a seed that keeps the inner meat of the seed safe and allowing it to grow. But at some time, and here comes the expansion, you outgrow that ring. And so
Mm.
you have to move beyond that. And so you have to face that fear. And at that time, rather than being the patrol officer, Boar becomes the gatekeeper. And it's not to, it's like the boss of a video game, and it's not, his intention is not to humiliate you and put you back in your place and take you out of the picture. His job is to make sure that you've got the gifts and the tools and the wisdom, etc., that you need to survive on the next level.
Mm. So I'm hearing that we're ready to level up.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's like that it makes total sense with everything that's going on right now.
Yeah.
All the projected darkness and fear, that's Boar coming up in our face saying, okay, what do you want to do about it?
Right.
And if we can face Boar and say, no, you don't have power. We can be quaking in our boots. It's like fear is the seed of courage. So I'm not saying to do this without fear that we're just gonna be, oh, ha ha, cowboy up or whatever. But if we have the strength, like one of my teachers said, anything you can face, you can overcome. And it's even just by facing that fear, by facing Boar, we take away their power and we can see the illusion
Yeah.
of that fear. And then you basically, as you walk through, you become Boar. And to me, it's kind of that same process of how you learn karate. Like when you learn karate, you usually don't need to use it.
Mm-hmm.
And this fits with what you were saying earlier, because your energy changes, you project differently, you're more confident. So you have a different way of being in the world, a way that others are not going to prey upon,
Mm-hmm.
you know. And so it's like you carry that strength with you, and it basically clears your path before you of anything that would conflict with you. And so it's not easy. This is really hard. We're facing our fears, right? And the way I see it, because of the, you know, frequencies and vibrations, everything is based on resonance. It's like we each have our individual fears.
Yeah.
We can't compare what I fear over what you fear. We can't say one is worse or better than the other, because it's custom made for us. Each of us has that custom made path to walk through. And so whatever fears I need to walk through to get to the other side is going to be different.
Mm-hmm.
And it can take you to your knees. It can like freak you the heck out. But if you can face it, you can overcome it.
I'm picturing like, what is it? Raiders of the Lost Ark, and you're like, standing in the tomb, and the walls start shaking. And
Uh-huh.
how do you respond to that? And everybody's going to respond a little bit different, right? Do you like get prepared to fight? Do you run, right? Do you walk calmly because you're like, I got time and I know exactly how this is going to go? Like, do you just
Or
panic and freeze, right?
you sit down and let it all happen and then just walk out calmly after it all passes.
Right. How do we respond when we're facing adversity? Because I think that's what we're seeing is a lot of adversity. And um it is a very interesting time, I think, to be in the world. I'm not going to say it's the most
Definitely.
challenging time to be in the world. I think about what our grandparents and our great grandparents lived through, and imagining different time periods of history. There's been all kinds of challenges that humans have faced, and this is another one. Now it looks like globally, a lot of those challenges are maybe adding up and we're facing some new things. So I think it's really easy to feel scared. I think it's really easy to feel hopeless. I think it's really easy to feel just sort of frozen. Like,
Mm-hmm.
like,
Mm-hmm.
like this is bad. What do we do? And so that's it, right? What do we do? And I think that when you talk about facing wild boar as this like the big boss level, and it's like it does feel like even just from an emotional standpoint, if there are things that are happening right now that you're scared about, that you feel nervous about, and I think if you didn't, I'd be surprised. I mean,
Yeah. Yeah.
there's like a whole list of things, the
Mm-hmm.
rainforest and all that good stuff.
Yeah.
Um, then how do we respond to that? And I think that's what forces us to level up is that there are some pretty big things that we're facing.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that when things are the darkest, that's when it's easiest to find the light. I've found that in my personal life, if I was facing a real crisis, like
Mm-hmm.
something really serious, really earth shattering, something life and death, these things that just brings you to your knees and breaks you down. And you do not get through life on this earth without facing some of those things. Like, we
Mm-hmm.
may walk around with a smile on our faces, but we have all faced many. If you're still standing, you face some things, right?
Absolutely.
And in those moments, I found that when things were darkest, it was easiest to see the light. That one little thought that felt so much better was so easy to see. That one little thing that really brightened my day was so bright because of the contrast of the darkness. The good things that we might overlook when things are easy or things are not
Exactly.
struggle, that I think that this is an opportunity for us to find our rhythm, find our alignment, do those things that are restorative and nourishing and being really true to ourselves without being, um, you know, disrespectful or harmful to others. That if we're really walking in our truth, that is going to be a benefit to others as well. That's not a selfish thing.
Absolutely.
That's an essential
Absolutely.
thing. So this leveling up that we're facing, I think it's an opportunity to walk through hardship, shining your light brighter,
Mm-hmm.
finding where peace and joy really comes from, and choosing happiness.
Absolutely. I totally agree 100% everything you just said.
Well, I'm feeling really inspired, Patrick, and I'm so glad that we did this today.
Me
Um,
too. Thank you.
it's a great way to, it's not the 1st of January, but who's counting? So,
Time's an illusion.
so as we walk forward into 2025, embracing all that we are and choosing happiness, what's one thing that brings you joy?
Hmm. I in my shamanic practice, um, my guides have been very talkative lately, giving me. I've got like a laundry list of things. Actually, it's like traveling. There's like all these different places my guides are asking me to go, and so I'm like thinking about mostly Mongolia. Either
Ooh,
this year or next year, I'm going to be going to Mongolia to meet the ranger shamans. And I got a little taste of that this past, like between Thanksgiving and Christmas. I actually got to volunteer at a reindeer farm.
yay!
And like, I got to pet reindeers like almost every day. I got to walk with the reindeers on a lead. And it was so magical. So I like got a little taste of that, of being with the reindeer herders and stuff. And so it's like that kind of really whet my appetite. And that's one of the places my guides are guiding me to, like, you need to go to Mongolia.
That's exciting.
Yeah.
You got your
So
passport ready?
I got my passport. I have there's a tour company. I need to reinvestigate it because I was looking at this a number of years ago and it
I
didn't pan
remember.
out.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I ended up getting a blood clot
Mm,
before the day before I had to pay my down payment for the trip,
uh-huh.
and so I couldn't fly. And so it was perfect timing because I wasn't out any money, but
Right.
it's like, oh man,
Spirit's like,
but
not yet.
not yet, not yet.
Good.
So yeah, so I got lots of traveling in my future, exciting and curiosity, just like Porcupine. Like, okay, what's in this place? What am I going to find here? What new lessons am I going to learn? You know.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a lot of excitement. Yeah. So and the last time the politics were kind of similar to this, years ago, and I was like so afraid and so dark and so and I'm just like whatever. I am not feeling any of that stuff, and I'm just like
You're
I'm
feeling
actually ecstatic and
light and
excited
ready to
about
travel.
exactly and to do my thing and to walk, follow my bliss.
Yeah.
And yeah, how about you?
Um, so I'm at a really interesting point with my kids that
Hmm.
they're big enough now that we can explore and go on adventures. I don't have to like carry them and strap them into car seats and they don't need naps in the middle of the day and like all these things, right? They're at this really interesting age where they're fully engaged and they're interested, and so we can have these little adventures together. And
Awesome.
and so it's funny because I thought that when my babies got bigger, I would have more time. And I don't know. I don't know where I got that from, but it turns out I have less time than ever. But it really is because we're more engaged with the world, right? Like we're seeing
Hmm.
our friends, we're going places, we're taking the kids out. I would love to do a bit of traveling, but I'm not sure if that's in the cards for this year or not. But we can certainly explore around here, which is fun. So I feel like the thing that brings me joy is that unexpected around
Right.
like a day out with the family, a day out with the kids, and just kind of what's going to come up or what's new for them, which kind of makes
The
it new
mystery of it
for
all.
us. And like I kind of have this sense of how precious this little moment of our lives are because we go through all these different phases. And like I almost don't want to say it. The next phase is like teenagers, right? So, teenager, I'm sure it'll be beautiful, but we're
Hmm.
not there yet. But the phase that we're in right now, it's just like it's new and it's exciting and there's this opportunity, and so it is kind of that unexpected and that curiosity and that fun and keeping it fresh, and I feel like I'm surrendering to it. So
Awesome.
when I had my first baby and he wouldn't sleep, I ended up having to surrender to that. I was like, okay, if we're not sleeping, we're not sleeping. We do what we do. And that
Yeah.
made things easier. And now I feel like um, we do sleep at night, kind of better. Um, you never know. But
Yeah.
it's a whole different phase now, but it's still surrendering into where we are. And like I could easily just like get just frustrated and overwhelmed because there's so much and now I have more to do, and like I gotta cook all the meals, and like
Hmm.
we gotta clean out the garage and like whatever it is, right? But actually if you just surrender to it and it's like, yeah, this is where I'm at in life, I'm excited about it, I'm gonna milk
This
it.
is what I'm doing. This is
Yeah,
where
this
my
is what I'm
energy
doing. So
is.
yeah, I just
Just.
feel really just this year in particular, I just feel really kind of prepared to like just double down and enjoy
Hmm.
life and see what comes up. I really feel like there's going to be some new doors opening and maybe some new interests coming up.
Hmm.
So yeah, we'll see. We'll see. It'll be
Awesome.
a surprise.
Yeah.
Yeah. But for now, it's January, so I'm still hibernating.
Yep. Yep.
Still enjoying my Christmas tree. I mean, my winter tree, my
Your
winter
winter tree. I might go put mine back up.
do it. At least put some lights, just some little
I
twinkle lights.
Yeah, I will do that.
Good. Well, thank you so much for joining me today. It's always so much fun
Oh,
when
you're
we
so
can get
welcome.
together, and I hope that this
Yeah.
was helpful to all of you who had a chance to listen to this episode. I wish you all the best for 2025. Don't be scared. Shine your light. Like, you really can change the world around you. You can change your experience of your daily life by changing your energy and just being in alignment. So let's focus on that.
You can't be a beacon if your light don't shine.
Come on out to our next spiritual discussion group, Mindfulness and Inspiration. That's going to be Tuesday, February 11th. You can sign up for that at nadiadelacruz.com. And for all our listeners, thank you for following Change Your Thoughts, Change Your Life, and telling your friends about it. Until next time, take care of yourself and take care of each other. Namaste.
Bye.